I am so pleased to have so many of you here, and with this fabulous venue we have outside, and I don't see Brian Farina. Has he showed up, Gary?
I know Bill had to go to a Farm Bureau meeting, and I don't see his truck. So.
All right, well anyway, I'll tell you about this place, and all of us old guys, the kids have figured a way to stay in business, and one of the ways they decided to stay in business is they eliminate all the middle people, and so they grow it and sell it, and squeeze it in there, and have fresh squeezed juice, vegetables, and this place has got the best creamsicles in the world. So for your dessert, you need to stop and get one, or milkshake on the way out. We're not counting calories today. It doesn't make any difference about that. And so this is just one of a number of operations like this that are dealing directly with the public. And Bill Baker, Brian Farina, and Lauren Farina are working with this. And since neither one of them are here, I know that Nick was really pissed off for a while. He did work so hard. Brian has a master's degree in architecture. Lauren is an RN. And both of them came back to the farm. And he's shaking his head, "You got to be kidding me," after I went through all of that. But look what an architect and an RN did to find a way to survive and have done a great job. I want to introduce a couple people, and then we'll talk and make a few announcements and everything else. She'll talk a second, but Meg Brew is the Extension Director in Lake County, and we couldn't get away from her even though we moved to Umatilla. This is a quasi-extension function, and you can take credit on your report of accomplishment for this. And there's got to be some diversification for old people in affirmative action, right? I mean, we have to. So we deal with all those. And I tell you, one way to success is to marry the boss. And I did that. And so there's the boss over there, Commissioner Hanson, who was my boss and you have more fringe benefits when you're married to a commissioner than when you work for one. I can tell you that. Brenda with the Florida Citrus Hall of Fame is here. And we also have a noted guest who decided it was time to get out of the office in Bartow. And so Mr. Sparks, he's borderline old.
No, I'm old. There's no borderline.
He might be old, but he thinks he's young. And he still is doing battle with legislators, regulators, researchers, and everything else. Sparks, keep it up, man. It's a challenge, and we appreciate it. We're going to have a couple of announcements as we're waiting for lunch. Gary, are you ready to tell us a little bit about the Citrus Tree Project?
We changed it to the Coleslaw Project.
While you finish that.
Yeah, it goes by districts. I'm not sure what all the...
Go, use this.
The 4-H project, Laura Cash over in Volusia County has just done a tremendous job keeping the thing going. And then, of course, with the virus and all, a year ago, everything had to shut down and didn't happen. We tried to have something, but it just didn't work out. So we're going to try maybe this fall, if we can get some trees, get another project going. And Laura's getting quite good feedback, so that's what we're hoping is, of course, finding a couple hundred trees might be a challenge, all the same variety, but anyhow, we're working on it, and we really appreciate your support of it. You guys have supported it forever, and this little lunch is helping to support it, and I'll report back the great attendance to Laura. I'm retired now, so she has me on her 4-H advisory committee, so I can talk about that, but But we have some pretty exciting stuff coming up, and John will definitely, of course, he's our auctioneer and everything else, so he is an integral part of it. So look forward to hearing from us here again in a few months when we get some more detail.
Yeah, many of you have purchased 4-H trees. Dalton Yancey, you're still all alive and growing. The Shook girls in Eustis are extremely proud of the fact that Dalton has bought their trees. They even delivered them, didn't they?
They did.
So it's a great project.
They're still alive. Both the trees are.
So we've had fun with that project for many, many years, and it's been one that we've introduced a lot of kids to citrus, and going to the auction's always fun for me to see these kids that have worked so hard. You can tell which ones grew the trees and which one's mom grew the trees pretty quickly, and they sort them out. So another project that I'd like to talk about is one that started in Polk County, and Brenda can help me out with this, but I believe in Polk County a lady had been in North Carolina and seen 4-foot by 4-foot metal signs of quilts, kind of advertising quilting shops around there, and suggested, why don't we take citrus crate labels and make signs out of them and put them up to show people the beautiful artwork associated with the labels. So in Polk County, it's as much a tourist deal as it is a historical deal. So they have 25, 22, how many? 55. 55 signs scattered all over Polk County, and they encourage people to go visit them. Well, we want to do the same thing in Lake County, but I'm not really interested in bringing tourists into the county. Somebody else can do that. But my mission is to tell your story. And there are some fabulous stories, as we've heard and we'll hear again this afternoon, about the citrus industry. So we are undertaking our crate label project here in Lake County, and we're going to put these signs up that will be crate labels, and if all goes well, on the bottom of the sign will be a QR code. Now, you know what a QR code is, don't you, Ray? Ray? Well, I learned what a QR code is. You know, if you go to the airport, you see these kids take their phone and put it on that machine and they get on the airplane. Well, there's a code that your phone can scan, and it takes you to a website somewhere. How in the hell it works, I have no idea. But our goal is to have these crate label signs all over the county, and we'll have one in Leesburg that will have Irish Castle on it. And on the bottom of that will be a QR code. And you can go there with your grandchild. He'll say, "Grandpa, here's what you do." And he takes the phone and puts it up to the QR code, and all of a sudden you have a picture of the Irish Castle label, and you have a history of who the family was that owned the packing house. And if you go to that particular one, you will have a fascinating story you can read about the Knowles family, because they've provided it for us, and it's remarkable. So we're going to go through all those, and we're going to have stories, other labels that Knowles Packing had, and so forth. But our goal is to use these labels to introduce people to the citrus industry. As Velheis told me, we want to get 5,000 people off their rear ends and their couches in the villages and have them hit the road and overwhelm the Rainbow Restaurant with the villages showing up for lunch down there after they've checked the label sign at Mascot. So we're underway right now. This first phase is all going to be funded by citrus folks, families and organizations, and we have 11 signs that are paid for, and we have 2 or 3 other signs that I'm waiting to hear from people who have promised to provide funding for the signs. And
got your money.
aha! Now we have 12 signs in hand. So here's where they're going to be and what we're planning with them now. 2 signs in Umatilla. One sign at the museum. It will be Duckhead on one side and Golden Gem on the other. We're trying to find another spot for Tire and Umatilla Fruit Company, Umatilla CGA Duckhead. And so then we'll have Red Warrior. As we move into Eustis, we're going to have 2 signs, Ryder and Green Jay from Eichelberger, and Eustis Packing. Huffstetler and Rowell's going to have a sign. Mount Dora Growers and Simpson Fruit in Mount Dora. We're going to have Lake Region Hammock in Ruby. And at the courthouse, we're going to have Lake County from Micheloni and Flyer on the backside. In Groveland, we have Pine Lake, and I forgot the other one. Groveland itself, Mascot and Groveland have one. Clearmont has Lake Minnehaha and Jim of Clermont or something. I can't remember all of them. Anyway, after all of that, I was hoping that the county would provide a website for all this, but I learned that the county doesn't do websites for quasi-governmental people. So I was fortunate enough to have a friend named Mr. Cross, whose daughter-in-law is phenomenal with websites, and we have our website up and going. And our number one and most important resource that we have is Colin Cruz, because Colin has his Lake County labels up here. If you haven't seen them, you really got to look at those. And Colin is going to help us out by providing copies of labels that aren't in Jerry's or Jim Ellis's collections, or so when we show other labels that these packers have, that they'll be able to see it. And wonderful stories, and it's going to be a chance for us to tell your story. And I'm pleased that we're off. Dragging a little slower than I wanted to. I like to run. As David knows, it's hard to run with me, so David slows me down so that we walk. We have 2 people from the Lake County Museum that just walked in, and they're working with us. Now, if you would like to participate, I need a few things from you. A, I would love to have pictures that you might have of packing houses, grove scenes, older pictures that we can utilize. We're going to have family picture. We want pictures of the packing house and stuff like that for each one of these things. Second of all, I'd like for you to be, if you would dare to spend some time writing a story or 2, it would be fantastic. Dixie has done that. Dixie has given me a couple things written down. Most of you probably don't like to spend as much time in a computer writing as I do, but if you could, and these are the kind of little stories that I want to elaborate on. Billy Teal was supposed to be here today, and Billy called me a couple days ago, said he wasn't going to be able to make it. And Billy is a recent grandfather, and I think he has grandpapa duties. And when you get to have 8 like I do, you tell the kids, this is a high priority. Find someone else to pick them up at school, not me. But anyway, so Billy told me, he said, you know, they reopened Jack's. I said, really? He said, yep. He said, but you won't like it. And I said, why? He said, because there are no hats in there. And he said, when I walked into Jack's years ago when I was working for Southern Fruit, and Mr. George Howard, he said, I gave him my Bluebird hat. And they poked it up on the ceiling. He said, I'd go in there and have lunch year after year after year. My hat was there, more and more hats and more and more hats. And so finally, when he heard they sold, he went down there and said, can I get my hat? And the owner said, I'm sorry that when I sold it, all the memorabilia went with it. But I'll take your name, and if the buyer will let me, I'll call you. And Billy said 2 weeks later he got a call. He was able to go down there and grab his hat and leave him a Heller hat and took the Bluebird hat. So how many of you left a hat or gave a hat at Jack's Barbecue? I bet you. I don't know where they are now, but if we could find the hats. You don't want yours back. But Benny and I were talking about how the hat thing got going, and those are the kind of stories that you won't find in refereed literature or you won't find in magazines or anything else. But those are the kind of stories that, to me, are really fantastic. How all those hats got stuck up in Jack's Barbecue. And unfortunately, all the murals are painted over. They got a bar in there, and it's not the same, but I guess life moves forward and we have to deal with it. So if you'd like to be a participant, write a story, call and tell me a story, get me some pictures, and if you really want to be a big help, you can provide some financial support. I've got enough money for the signs, but I haven't got funding yet to pay Phil's daughter-in-law or the website or anything like that. So we're looking for people who'd like to get involved, and if you have questions, let me know, but we're having fun. So Brenda, if you will tell us how it's going in Polk County and also give us an update on the Florida Citrus Hall of Fame, I'm going to sit down and shut up for just a few minutes.
Promises. Thank you guys so much for coming out today. John is wonderful, as always, putting this together every year. I haven't been able to make it every year, but we always have our videographer here because part of the things that we try to do at the Florida Citrus Hall of Fame is create an oral history. And this, believe it or not, is an oral history because as you go around and tell some of your stories, we're going to get that down on videotape, and you'll be able to go on our website and look it up and see it along with a lot of the other people that we've interviewed and captured their stories. And that is what's disappearing, a lot of the stories. So we really are relying on you to not only come up and tell your stories, but think about your family history, your business history, your personal history within the citrus industry. If you can't write it down, tape it, call me. We'll come out there and we'll interview you. A lot of you here today have already been interviewed, and your videos are on the Hall of Fame website. So again, the website is floridacitrushallofFame.com, and go on there and look at it. We have a wonderful resource there. We have over 1,500 citrus labels that are digitized. We've got a number of old photographs. We have the oral histories. We have a lot of the old postcards. We have a lot of pictures of the old packing houses, but we also have a number of pictures of the packing houses that are not identified. And at one time, there were over 250 packing houses in the state, and we're down to under 25 now. So you can imagine the history that has been lost in that. So if you have anything in your attics, in your business files or whatever that has any photographs or information about the industry, don't wait and just have somebody else go through your stuff when you're not here. Give it to us now and let our archivists go through it for you and preserve what's preservable while we can get the story about it. I mean, the number of pictures that we have that we can't identify people in them is just phenomenal. But that's part of our mission now. Our mission, and when we merged with, when we moved over to the Florida Southern College, our mission went from honoring the contributions of distinguished people within the industry. It went to actually helping to preserve and promote the history of the citrus industry and its importance to the state of Florida. And that was because we established a web presence, we established the archives there that Professor Mack had actually already started, but we actually fund students who help go in there, and all the stuff that he collected, we are digitizing that and putting that in a resource database that is usable, and we're adding to it. And now we're starting to promote that to the rest of the world. It's a wonderful resource that's available. We have a number of people that have been working with us. The project that John's been talking about in regards to the citrus crate label signs, that was started because somebody saw the quilt trail in North Carolina and thought, what a great idea. That would be a wonderful thing for people to get interested about the industry's history. And it's worked. We have 55 different labels throughout 28 sites in Polk County, and that was our flagship site because that's where the Florida Citrus Hall of Fame was. That's where I grew up and knew enough people there and had the resources to get the county, the city, the Tourism Development Council, and all of those people involved to make it a project that worked. And then we moved out of that Polk County into other counties. We have one sign in Manatee County. We're trying to work that to get that enlarged. We've got 4 over in Indian River County. We've got people like George Hamner who are behind that and getting that going. John has taken up the baton here. Jerry's going to work with us in Orange County. We've got some people in Hillsborough County, and I want to go down to the Gulf. So, I mean, this is something that should be a statewide project, and that's what I'm going for. And I'm really happy to say that when I talked to the Florida Department of Agriculture about it, this is their annual publication this year, and we have a story about the citrus crate label project in this annual publication. So wherever they go and they distribute this, we're in it. And it's something, again, it helps us preserve our industry, talks about the history, and gets it out there. It makes people realize just how important an industry that Florida citrus not only was, but still is, and something they can get behind. But we really, really hope that you will get behind the preservation of the history of the citrus industry. Anything you have that you want us to take from you and put into our archives, what we do with that is we help loan it out to other historical societies and museums throughout the state so they can create citrus displays throughout the year at various, throughout the state. So to go with whatever program that they are doing at that time. Now, because of COVID, normally in March we would have had our citrus industry, our Florida Citrus Hall of Fame luncheon. This year we moved it till November 5th, which is the first Friday in November, because we just couldn't do it. The school was closed down. And this year it will be, again, at Florida Southern College, but it's in a new location. It will be in the field house. We've had a number of people ask us to move it to the field house because it's a larger and more easily accessible place to get to. We've never been able to have it there because normally in March that was the basketball playoffs, regionals, and they always said the field house was taken. So this year, November 5th, we hope you'll join us. John Jackson is one of our inductees going in this year, so let's give him a little hand there. He has retired as president of the Hall of Fame, just like Jerry Chicone has. However, they both are still very involved and have been very helpful. Quentin Rowe is now our new president, so he is definitely picking up the baton and moving forward, and we're very, very happy to have your support. So thank you all so much for being there and for helping us do our part in preserving the history of the industry.
Phone out and go to calendar, and you put down November the 5th, Florida Southern College, because you were all part of the honor that I've received. I want you to be there and join me as we all celebrate this. Stories with all of you. If it wasn't for Conserve, I never would have gotten a government award, Frankie and Phil, and I would have been just a has-been. But elevated up one level. So I'm joining my friend Jerry Chicone, and great honor, and I'm most appreciative of it. I retired in 2006. And we've had a few agents that have taken that job, and it's vacant. So we're going to find out what's the status with the extension agent position here. Maybe we have a lot of qualified candidates out here. They're all anxious to develop a report of accomplishment, I'm sure. They don't know what they're talking about.
Anxious is the word for it, sure. So, hey y'all, thank you so much for allowing me to come out and join you. My name is Meg Brew. I've been in Lake County for a minute or two, but I stepped up as County Extension Director just a little over a year ago. So it was a heck of a year to say yes to a leadership opportunity right before 2020 started. I am a livestock agent, so I have brown thumbs. I can look at a plant and kill it. But I'm glad that y'all are good at what you do, because I sure do enjoy orange juice. So I appreciate that y'all are skilled at what you do, and I appreciate y'all letting me come out and visit with you today. So we do have a vacancy in our citrus production agent position. Juanita retired, actually officially tomorrow is her last day, but she was able to use a couple weeks of annual leave at the end of her tenure with us. And UF was gracious enough, because they recognized the importance of this position to our industry in this area, to go ahead and post her job before she retired, which is somewhat unusual with the university. So I think that speaks both to the appreciation for funding right now, and also for the importance of this position. So the position actually closes tomorrow. So it's currently posted online. And the way that the job searches work at UF is that it's been open for a couple of weeks. Hopefully the applications are flooding in. It goes through a search and screen committee first, which means that they will screen out anybody who does not meet the minimum qualifications in terms of the degrees and whatnot. And then they will send the applications to myself and my director, and we get to kind of go through them and screen out who we think are the best fit qualifications that we would like to interview in Gainesville. I would love to hear from you kind of what you would like me to look for in their resumes. So we don't get to pick things like gender, race, ethnicity, religion, age, that legally I can't discriminate. So you can't tell me, please pick another cute redhead to come to Lake County.
Why not?
Don't be selfish, okay? Don't be greedy. But you could say, we would really like someone who has some background knowledge of industry, who's worked in industry before, or we really want someone who's already done their master's degree. So those sort of things, as we're here having lunch, if you want to come up and chat with me and share some of that with me, I would love to know what y'all are looking for so that I can kind of prioritize those applications. So we'll bring the best of the best candidates to Gainesville. They get to sit around a table with myself, my boss, my boss's boss, my boss's boss's boss, some specialists, and they get grilled pretty hard. From there, we kind of bring down, hopefully, the top candidates. That interview in Gainesville is going to be June 7th. So we're looking at probably the week of June 14th to bring those candidates down here. And that's where I'm really going to need y'all's help, because I would love to pack our auditorium with folks and have you guys grill them at that point. So once we bring people down to the county, we're kind of saying, okay, from the U.S. standpoint, these guys and gals are all equally acceptable. They have passed muster as far as they're good on paper. They did well interviewing in Gainesville. We're good with any of them, and now we want our stakeholders, which are you guys, to weigh in. They're going to give a seminar, so they're going to give a presentation, and then we want you to ask questions. And you're going to have a chance after they leave the room to have discussions with me and let me know what you think and who you think would be a good agent to help you for the next, hopefully, many, many, many years. We take all of that feedback and then we hopefully extend an offer to somebody. The next part that I would ask for your help in is the mentor part of the Mature Citrus Mentors. So it's to welcome that person into the community, help them get to know folks, help them understand the culture, help them feel like Lake County is home, because that is a huge part of somebody staying in the job. And I think the biggest way that someone can make a difference in extension is just to stay. It's a tough job. It's a wonderful job. It is my dream job. But being part of the community and sticking it out and being here for a long time and feeling like they belong is important, and y'all are the people to do that. So take them under your wing, help them understand how they can help you. That will be a huge help to our organization. So any questions about any of that? All of that said, and all of this depends on the person to whom we extend the offer. It depends on assuming that we get the right candidate, because I am not afraid to recast the net. If we get a bunch of stinkers the first time through, I don't want to hire the wrong person. So I am not afraid to say the right candidate is not in this this pool, and we will re-advertise. But assuming that we get the right person, that they're in a position to move here or to make that transition, I'm hoping mid-July we'll have somebody ready to hit the ground. But that depends on all of those factors. So any questions about that timeline? Comments? So the other thing is you have the rest of this afternoon to convince John Jackson or Gary England, who have both held this position before, to come out of retirement.
Well, we got Pete Spike. He's a former extension agent over there, and he just looks like he's ready to take the job.
Beautiful. So you have 3 candidates. They have until tomorrow at midnight to put their applications in. So you have the rest of the afternoon to convince them as well. Although you may have to talk to Ms. Hanson and Mrs. England as well.
I think the answer is no.
Yeah, it's for some of us it was a great job. For others, it was a stepping stone to the next level, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So we're getting ready to have lunch. I'll make sure Rusty is ready. Weigel, are you going to have how we want to do this? Are we getting close?
You're done. It's on the table.
You're done? Well, we can get started in just a few minutes, but we have some stragglers coming in, and Oswald, how many times have I told you when you come to an extension meeting you got to get here on time? But he was driving, wasn't he?
Right.
So we have 3 from from Clement. Hey, maybe we have another extension agent. We got 4 possible candidates for the position right now. So we're going to break. We're going to have lunch, and I'm not sure exactly how we're going to do that. Just going to help yourself. Is that the way it's going to go?
Yeah, just walk through there, John.
Okay, so you help yourself to Weigel's. Now,
There's plenty of food. You got a lot more sitting back here, so there'll be prepared for a lot more than is here today. So
you probably read my story, but I called Rusty to find out about cooking. And Rusty was engaged in his afternoon activity. And his afternoon activity was taking his dog down to the Jiffy store in Wearsdale, in the Dollar General, and buying her a moon pie and a power drink. And he gets the small power drink, but the lady at the store said, "Sir, you can get the big power drink for the same price as a little one." And Rusty said, "My dog can't drink all of a big Powerade." So he gets a little one. And then he watches the folks that come in and visit the Dollar General store in Wearsdale, and he says that's far better than any TV program that you could be watching at home. And so the conversation was moving along until all of a sudden, Rusty said, "Wait, what a minute, what's going on?" Someone pulled off the road to Richard Fritch's house. And they got out of the car, and they were extracting some of the beautiful flame vine on the road. Now that's a rare and hard to grow plant, right? So Rusty decided it was his job to inform them that they were not to remove plant material from that historic vine that Richard's mother planted many, many years ago. In fact, when Richard got rid of it, the entire women's organization in Wearsdale was up in arms. He was threatened to be run out of town. He couldn't even go to church anymore because they talked about him. And poor Richard was forced to watch a flame vine engulf the first 2 rows of his trees next to the wall. So if you want to go by Wearsdale, the flame vine is back. The institution has been returned.
but don't touch it.
And don't you dare touch it, because Weigel's got a camera up there now,
Right.
and he is guarding the flame vine.
But you know what, John? Those people didn't pay a whole lot of attention to me.
You should have turned your dog loose
I
on
should
it.
have.
That chihuahua would have eaten him alive.
That's right.
All right, so with that, we're going to help yourself to the food line. The drinks are over here. Struggle around, visit with each other, get something to eat, and when we adjourn after lunch, it's story time, and so we're going to share some experiences, and we have kind of some unique things that I'll get started. We'll get them going after lunch, but we'll have fun. So as we get ready to go, Dixie, if you would come up here, please. We couldn't get together last year because of the COVID deal, so it's been about 2 years since we have gathered, and we've lost some people and so forth. And Dixie, if you would tell us a little bit about where we are and who needs some help and who's no longer with us, and we'll do our prayer and go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank John for all the work that he's done for this. We really missed it last year, but due to the circumstances, it had to be put off. So thank you for all coming. I was asked to list those that have passed away since 2019. And it's real sad for me because out of the 13 listed, 9 of them were real good friends of mine, and part of them I worked with. First, Joe McCree, Bill Alberson, Chris Blanton, Gene Albridgeau, Tommy Deloche, Whit Chase, Al Koontz, Billy Birch, Bud Boyer, Jerry Cloud, Ray Gunter, Everett Fisher, and John Westerville. But we're all getting old, and many of us need prayers. And I have a prayer list here. Chris Schroach, Jerry Chacon, Bobby McCowan, David Matthews, Robert Kobe, Bill Castle, Dick Toole, Jack Nelson, Jennings Rao, Arling Jumper, Rusty Waggle, and John Anderson. So let us give thanks for our food. Oh, Father, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you for the many blessings that you bestow upon us. We thank you for the food that's provided for us and Rusty's willingness to fix it. We pray our blessing on it, and we pray for those less fortunate. These things we ask in your name. Amen.
Before you get in the line, I want to make a couple of comments. Many of you know Chris Tresh. Chris worked as a production manager for Simpson Fruit Company, and Chris had a heart transplant. I found it rather amazing that I got a text from Suzanne the end of December saying the family had looked at that option and decided that they would explore it. And 6 days later, she sends me a text and saying, Chris is getting a new heart tonight. And you go online and it takes, I thought, years and thousands of people waiting to get a heart. But Chris had a heart transplant the 1st of January. He has gone through the recovery, the rehab. He went home. Unfortunately, Suzanne sent me a text about 3 days ago, said that he developed pneumonia and he's back in the hospital. So, and then, Bobby, how long ago was it when Rick had the accident with the hot wire?
That was in 19.
So Rick Freeman had an unfortunate experience with electrical wire, and prayers were offered. And I want you to know how much that really means to those people that on the quote other end. We all know that God doesn't change his mind. We aren't going to say, hey, it's time for you to change your mind and do something. But prayer is so good for you, and even far better for those who are getting it. I know Suzanne Tresh and Chris were lifted up and were so much better off knowing that that prayer army was out there. And I've got a video, a text on a message on my phone from Chris telling me how much he appreciates all your prayers. And if you know Chris, that's not exactly what I would call typical Chris Tresh, but that's the kind of response that we have. And so I'm going to let you know that your prayers were deeply appreciated by the Tresh family, by the Freeman family, and by all the others. John Anderson sent me an email, said he couldn't make it, that he was in the 5th of 6 chemo treatments for lymphoma, and he was doing better. And so you provide a vital role out there, so keep it up. As Mike Littman, he says, he never sleeps. He's always listening, so prayers are accepted and welcome anytime. With that, thank you for, on behalf of the Tresh family and all the rest of them, and now it's time for us to enjoy Rusty's famous barbecue. As y'all finish your lunch, I want to get started because I know that there are a number of you that take early naps, and we don't want you dozing off before we get through. I know that a lot of us were fortunate enough that we haven't had to deal with greening, and the kids are doing it, but we are having some changes. I wanted to ask Mr. Peter Chairs to come up for just a second. And one of the ways that we're trying to deal with this issue is to get new varieties and move them through. And would you tell us just a little bit about how the new varieties outfit works and how you're getting some varieties that people can look at, and what exciting things we might expect down the road? In case y'all haven't been driving around the area, if you've ever made a trip out 450 toward Weirsdale, Chuck Allison got tired of his red navels not passing, and he clipped 50 acres off at the ground. And I don't know what he's going to put in there now, but I know that a lot of you would have had trouble running a machine in there and clipping off 50 acres of navels, although I do remember a story about a grower that had some peaches at his house, and the big peaches were open Wednesday and Saturday, and his wife was using the house as her studio, and she kept getting people that would show up on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday banging on the door wanting to pick peaches in spite of the sign that said we're open Wednesday and Saturday. And she finally gave the edict, either you're going to be here 5 days a week or you're going to get rid of those things. And I believe the next day the front end loader left Groveland, and before the week was over, those peaches were on the ground. Is that close to the truth? Pretty close. So, but I believe that someone has resurrected the peaches. And it was a good year last year. It was a little rainy day, and Catherine and I had ordered our peaches online. This is how you do it now. This you picked up. So we had peaches that were to be delivered, picked up at Shepherd Lake. I drove down there. There was this covered area out here. All these young ladies were working, and I asked them where the boss was, and they said Papa's back in the back, and he came out, and Granddaddy had managed to get all the grandkids to pick peaches, market the peaches, and go through everything else. So, Barton, you should have gotten McLean's grandkids to run your peach operation, and you wouldn't have to push all those trees out of the damn ground. So, you going to do it again this year, Benny? I haven't seen anything online. Are we buying peaches?
The only good news about the virus was all of my grandkids were out of school and out of college, and they were home, so I put them to work. Well, they're all gone now, so it's just me and Barton doing it.
That's bad news. All right, I'm going to give you a few minutes. Tell us what's going on with varieties and so forth.
We started New Varieties Development and Management Corp back in '05. It really started before greening had really raged up as bad as it is. Originally as a fresh fruit project to try to deal with variety obsolescence. And then later when the commission saw some value in what we were doing, it really kind of expanded to more of an industry-wide effort. The board is appointed by all the different citrus industry organizations. So what we've been doing through this is we set up a program called Fast Track to try to move the promising fresh selections out to the nurseries and growers as early as possible, get them into trials and really see when you put them into your own production systems what will work. And there have been some things that have shown some promise, but most things have proven to be very difficult, as you're all too familiar with. And then things that are more for processing, more round orange oriented, are licensed through Florida Foundation seed producers with the university. And so what we've been seeing each year with the breeding teams is each year they're identifying new breeding stock. They're identifying those breeding parents that have a propensity to pass on higher levels of tolerance, and fruit has the traits that you're going to need in your businesses. So they begin to combine these parents and then are combining and combining and combining. So what we've had so far is really everything that's been released up to this point, by and large, they were crossed pre-2010. So the things that really we believe are going to have the most promise as far as really being robust in their tolerance and also having those positive fruit quality traits are yet to be fruiting. Some of the things that are fruiting maybe this year for the first time were probably crosses made in, let's say, 2014. And so when you look at thousands and thousands of these being made each year, the present challenge for USDA and for IFAS is just the sheer volume of the material to go through and evaluate. And in our little variety program, we're kind of supporting targeted research projects to try to keep the pipeline full. But what we've really lacked in the funding to pursue would have been broader scale field trials. The idea of getting these things to industry early so you can gain experience with them is still valuable, but I think what we learned along the way is growing these things in an HLB environment is so complex, and there's just this myriad of other factors. We need to have scientifically designed field trials that would go along with that. So with Mutual's involvement with Kraft and getting the funding to go into these scientifically designed widespread field trials and start gathering the data that growers are going to need to basically support their growing decisions is just going to be terrific, because it's one thing to get everything out early, keep the pipeline full, but if we're not doing these field trials and these evaluations, we've just been missing that component. So we're very excited to see that going on. And I think right now we're probably, between the two programs, we're probably at about 50,000 unique trees in the field, probably 80% of which aren't even fruiting yet. So there's almost, you can't say it's in there, but it's hard to imagine that we're not going to see things round orange like, grapefruit like, that are going to be of value to the industry and are going to be things that we can use to support your businesses. So I think it's going to be an exciting next 5 or 6 years.
Well, Peter, you know, to me it's encouraging to see the young folks who are interested in getting keeping the industry going. A couple of weeks ago, I had breakfast in Umatilla, and I'm disappointed that the gentleman that I met at breakfast isn't here. I'm sure you've never experienced this, but I went in to meet Chuck Allison for breakfast, and I was there a little early, and there was a gentleman in the haystack in Umatilla having breakfast. And I knew the face, had seen it many times, but somewhere I could not pull a name out at all. So finally I went over and said, "I'm John Jackson, I know who you are, but I can't put a name with it." And he said, "I'm Tommy Powers." And so I had a nice little visit with Tommy. If you know Tommy, he was a fruit and vegetable inspection guy with the seed, fertilizer and seed division with the Florida Department of Agriculture. And back then, those guys would come out and make sure that if you bought a 12012, what was in the trailer was a 12012. And so Tommy was every grower's friend, because he made sure that when a fertilizer salesman delivered something to the farm, that what he delivered was what you bought. And so there was some battles, but anyway, Chuck got there with his daughter's boyfriend, who's a relatively young guy, and I think he works in Vero Beach, but he wanted to talk about planting grapefruit up on Eichelberger's property. And I said, "What about greening? Isn't it one of the more susceptible varieties?" And he said, "We can live with greening," and never batted an eye. So Lennon, I'm glad to see that you think that we can live with greening, because and there's that generation. Are there many like that out there? There must be that won't give in to this and won't give up. So I was excited. I think that the kids can handle it. I don't know if I could survive trying to go out to a grove and not being able to tell someone what to do to live with greening. But anyway, so I guess I'm going to have to start getting some people to talk a little bit about get the stories going, and I'm kind of at a loss, because I'm rapidly running out of things to talk about, and I just don't understand that. I didn't get to introduce Stacy Appleby and Dave back in the back. If you guys will wave your hands. They are with Stacy's the curator of the Lake County Museum, and here shortly, Bill and I are going to go pick up a ladder and bring it to the museum. And so if you, we'll let you know when it's there, because I know many of you have fond memories about picking up that 38-foot ladder and getting it in the tree and moving it around to harvest fruit. And you know, you can talk about a 38-foot picking ladder, but Stacy is trying to find a spot in the lobby of the old courthouse to put the ladder. And what'd you find out, Stacy? If you put it on the ground floor,
It was really tall.
it's really tall.
John and I tried to put up, it went up to the
Third floor. So the top of the ladder is at the third floor, and from the ground up. And she's got a spot in there where we're going to have to turn it sideways to get it in there and plexiglass it. Because I assure you that there's some 2-year-old in Lake County that will find a way to climb that ladder if you don't secure it thoroughly. And the ladder is the result of Fred Saunders salvaging it when they were tearing down the Keene barn there in Winter Garden. And Bill came and he had to pull a 35 or a 45-foot gooseneck trailer to load 4 ladders up, and we've got 4 38-foot ladders over in Winter Park stored. One's going there, one's going down to the Grove House. So we want to get things like that out. And our goal is that at the museum to have a picking sack with 50-pound weight in it, and ask these people that come in for some nice young guy to grab that thing and say, here's what you do. You put that on your shoulder, you climb to the top of that ladder, you fill it full, and then you go down to the ground and dump it in a box. And you do that about 50 times a day, 6 days a week. And ought to get an appreciation for what it was like to pick fruit off of a ladder like that. And I always like to tell the story that I grew up in the city, so I didn't get all of these life-building experiences in the Grove. How many of you had the fun of picking fruit off of a 30-plus foot ladder? Tell us, how long did you last, Mr. Knowles?
Unfortunately, I was going to the University of Florida at the time. And
Come here, come here. Now, you know, families nowadays don't do like they used to, where children had the experience of participating in the family business, you know, and doing things. So, what was your summer experience with picking?
Well, fortunately, I was home from University of Florida going to school at the time, and I asked my dad for a job, and he put me in a grove. And I remember one grove we were in, we had a Doberman that was running down the road at me, and I was dumping my bag, trying to get all the oranges out, and looking at the Doberman running at me. I finally scurried back up the ladder. But it was, fortunately, I decided that I needed to get an education more than pick oranges, so I went back to school and applied myself a little bit better.
You know, those are valuable lessons, and we've got a great family story that Steve has provided, so I think that to go along with the label. Anybody else have fun picking fruit? Okay, I want to.
So I got out of the Army in 1974, got back from Vietnam and came back to Umatilla and started working for the family fertilizer company, Wheeler Fertilizer. And I went down to Christmas, and Mrs. Margaret Vickery, she was the daughter of Carl Barber, who is pretty noted in Orange County as a cattleman. And she had a grove behind her house, and I think that Van Conley was picking the fruit, and it was all seedling trees. And it blew my mind away because they had picked 47 boxes out of one tree, and the tree just looked like it went to the sky. And of course, all the trees I was familiar with were budded, and but the whole grove was seedling trees like this. I think it was on a 30 by 30 or a 35 by 35 or a 40 by 40 set. And maybe figure that one out. Do your math, John, and tell me how many trees to the acre that is. But anyway, that's one of the first remembrances I had of really tall trees. And they couldn't pick the top of the tree. They had to leave part of the fruit in the top. So I had a few shiners up there.
Yeah, I don't think you topped and pruned trees until the '62 freeze came, and you were forced to do that. Wouldn't have done it otherwise. You didn't have trouble getting harvesters. At least you could get people to pick the fruit. Benny, come up here for a second. I want us to talk a little bit about a couple of things. And in case you didn't know it, Benny's claim to fame now is not that he is a well-renowned citrus consultant, or that he's an old-timer, but that his granddaughter is Miss Florida. And I don't know if you realize that. And he's still trying to figure out where the genetics came from that, just like he's still trying to figure out how come he has a son who comes up with wild ideas. What's the new product now that we're getting in Uncle Matt's juice?
It's the immunity, ultimate immunity.
So if you are in the grocery store, in Publix for sure, over there in the juice aisle, you've got to get this product. It is orange juice and
elderberry.
And it's guaranteed to
turn your hair black.
Turn your hair. I just want to grow some. I don't know if it can do that or not. So it's amazing how with some of these creative ways that we can go to marketing. Tell us a little bit about what happened with Uncle Matt's and what's going on with the juice deal.
Well, we're back in the juice business. About 3 years ago, we sold Uncle Matt's to Dean Foods there in Dallas, Texas, and they filed bankruptcy about 9 months ago, and they called us up and told Matt, if you want to buy the company back, submit a bid. So we did, and lo and behold, we got our company back. So we got the band back together, and the family's all working together now, and so we're all excited about the opportunity. And the only good thing about the virus is that a lot of people are buying orange juice, whether it's organic or conventional, for the vitamin C. So all of the juice companies in the state of Florida, the sales have gone up, including ours. So, but I want to tell this quick little story. Everybody sitting here I know went through the '83 freeze, and Mr. Gurney sitting back there, we had G&M Groves, and obviously we had borrowed a lot of money to buy a lot of citrus, to buy tractors, trailers, just go down the list. And the majority of what we had borrowed came from the local bank, and the president of the bank at that time was a fellow by the name of Ed Stevens. Some of y'all may remember him. He's no longer with us. But anyway, about a month after the freeze, Dave and I were standing in line to go into Jack's Barbecue to eat lunch, and the line was way outside the door, about 10 people there, and I'm standing in line. Well, the line continues to grow, and after 2 or 3 minutes, I hear a voice behind me said, "McLean, McLean!" You know, and I turn around and look back there, and there's Ed Stevens, the president of the bank. "Hey, Ed, how you doing?" He leans back out and says, "We need to talk, old buddy. We need to talk." I said, "Well, how can I talk with you? I don't ever see you anywhere." And he said, "I want to know, where have you been?" And I said, "Ed, I'm in line at the citrus tower waiting on my turn to jump, and I just took a break to come here to get a sandwich." And I turned back around at him and I said, "The question is, where in the hell you been?" Excuse the little language there. He says, "Well, you dumbass, look behind you in that line. I'm right about 5 people behind you waiting to jump too."
We did an oral history about 2 months ago. Ed James and Glenn Tyre and Benny and myself, and Fred Saunders' grandson did the video of that, and Ed and I went first, and we had a good time and a lot of fun. And then Glenn and I had at it, and we got ours in, and then it was Benny's turn, and it seemed like we hadn't been talking but a few minutes, and Trent Saunders said, "We got to stop." He said, "I've run out of memory." And McLean had just gotten started. We hadn't even touched the surface, so we're going to have to go back and finish. But if you haven't seen some of these oral histories, you need to go to the Citrus Hall of Fame website and go visit them. And there's some great ones. And you know, we talk to people, we get information, and it's really a lot of fun, and it's interesting, and it also, you know, sometimes it is helpful. We mentioned that we lost Bud Boyer this past year, and about 8 months or 10 months before that, we went to Weirsdale, and we did an oral history with Bud and with Rusty, and Bud is on the website, and it was, I think, very fitting that we had Bud, and we had about 15 minutes of a great interview with him, and you need to go see the interaction between Bud and Rusty in their interview. It was really a lot of fun, and we appreciate having this and being able to record a lot of these stories. Anybody have anything they wanted to share before I get Glenn Tyler to come up and talk for about 2 hours? Glenn can tell all kinds of stories. And you know, you see people, at least I do, and when you start talking and you really get some good information. I wanted to get Singleton. Hey, Roy, quit visiting back there and come up here. Now come up here. Come up here. Now, come here. Come here. You know, sometimes we don't run in the same circle all the time with a lot of people, but Roy and I go to the same church, and we see each other on Sunday. At least we did for a while, and now we do again. And we had lunch, and I wrote about our lunch. But I think that sometimes we need to remember some folks. And tell us a little bit about Ray Gunther. We lost Ray about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and Roy is a marketer, and he worked for Farm Bureau, and got started with Glenn and Roy and everything else. Just share a few minutes about Roy and your friend and what it was like selling Dave oranges.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say I worked for Farm Bureau for 40 years in marketing. I'm not a grower, and I'm from Alabama. And the first orange tree I ever saw, I was hired to sell the oranges off of it. But Glenn Tyre started our citrus marketing division 49 years ago, something long in there. He was a young guy then, but Glenn started the program and did an excellent job to give us our footing. And I think the first person, he can elaborate on that later, the first person he hired was Ray Gunther. And Ray worked at Umatilla CGA, and he can tell you more about that. But then when I came to work in 1978, Ray was in charge of the fresh fruit division at our FAMA office, and we actually at that time were housed in the Lake County Farm Bureau insurance office building right there on Highway 19. And we hit it off real good with Ray and Al Koontz. We lost both of them this year. And they were both real good friends and hard workers, and they taught me what little bit I know about the citrus industry. But Al and Ray both were real good friends, and we traveled all over the United States together. And Al taught me all about bricks and ratios and
rootstocks and things like that. And Ray knew how to arrange transportation and all of that. We were just a real good team that Glenn was very instrumental in putting all of that together. And Glenn can tell you more about it, but they started out very small, but we grew into a pretty good sizable operation, and things changed over the years. You know, we started out only selling to farm bureaus, and we'd buy commodities back from them, and Ray helped us do all of that. But Ray was a real good man. He worked for us for 30 years, and then he would actually come back every season for 13 years after that to help us arrange trucking all over the country. We shipped to 30 states and shipped, some years we'd ship 250,000 to 300,000 4/5 cartons of fruit, plus all of our juice concentrate. Golden Gym, we used several. Ben Hill Griffin, then from Ben Hill Griffin, started out with Evans, and then from Evans processing to Ben Hill Griffin, and then to Citrus World, and then to Golden Gym, and then back to Citrus World. But we had a high density concentrate juice that Al and a lot of them helped develop, and I'm going brain dead now. I can't think of who helped develop that high density concentrate. Carol Floyd, thank you. And matter of fact, our Farm Bureau Citrus Division headquarters is named after Carol Floyd. It has a plaque in there that said Carol Floyd Building. I don't know if some of you might remember Carol Floyd, but Ray was a wonderful guy, and so was Al, and they're going to be sorely, sorely missed.
A lot of stories. If you haven't had a chance and would like to, Colin Cruz has his labels up here. Colin, can come up here for a second, and I'm learning more and more about crate labels as I get into this, and obviously Jerry Chacon has been a label collector, and Colin's been a collector. Tell us a little bit about your collection and how you got started in the crate label business.
Well, I got started with John Veldhuis, had some labels in his vehicle. I saw them, said I liked them, and he said, "You don't know anything about the citrus business?" So I said, "Well, the family's had orange grove for years," but ended up, I got very interested in citrus labels. My collection right now is about 2,600 Florida citrus labels. Yes, Jerry, I'm still behind you. Jerry has probably upwards of 3,000 in the collection he donated. But I've been doing this, I guess, for upwards of 40 years, maybe 45. I didn't write down the day I started, but it's been very interesting. It's not a collection that's going to make a lot of money for anybody, but it's just something enjoyable to do, and the history it has is really fantastic. I would like to say, if anybody has labels that they think I may not know of or have seen, I would appreciate a picture of them. I do have a large color copy machine that my son gave to me that I can reproduce them. We always mark one when it's been reproduced, so somebody can't sell it for being an original label, because the color copies are incredible. But that's it, and I do need to meet with the museum lady and get her up here and get her looking through some of those books with me. Start from there. Thank you.
It's a great history, and fortunately Jerry and Colin are preserving it, and for some people, a lot of labels like Colin, and for other people, just a few. And I never realized that, at least not for a while, that like so many residents of Florida are born here, that you actually have a citrus tie. As Jerry reminds me time and time again, I'm a city boy, And I grew up in Orlando, and my first experience with citrus was a grapefruit tree that was in the backyard of the neighbor across the street. And Tommy, this was Lauren Ward's son of Rex McGill. And Mr. Ward was an engineer from Minnesota or Wisconsin that came to Florida and got involved with Rex McGill, and I guess he probably was an appraiser and everything else. But so the Wards had a grapefruit tree in their backyard, and Ken and Gary and I would fly that grapefruit tree all over the place. And it was big enough that there was a seat for the bombardier and the co-pilot and the navigator and everything else. And so that was my experience with how I got involved in citrus, and kind of interesting, some of those ties that you have and everything else. But the labels are fascinating. And I was in Gainesville, one of the rare times I was in the library doing a little bit of work, and I opened up the 1936 volume of the Florida State Hort Society, and there was my father looking at me. And I had to do a double take and realize it really wasn't my father, but it was his uncle. And his uncle was John S. Taylor, who was a big-time packer and grower in Pinellas County. And I managed to track down a label, of a John S. Taylor label that one of my father's cousins had. And Jerry sent me another John S. Taylor label. The third one that I got, Kathy Lewis was at a sale and bought a high stepper label that was out of my price range, but she made me a copy, Colin, so you really can't tell whether it's an original, whether it's just a copy or not. So it's amazing how many of these labels kind of find a way into your history and are part of it. So I'm very optimistic that our tour is going to generate a whole lot more interest as we tell the story of citrus. Anybody else want to jump up here and have a say?
John, Rusty cooked more food than we needed. He didn't realize that us older people don't eat as much. There's plenty left. If you want to take some with you, there's some ribs over there, I guess it's unspoken for, but anyway, help yourself. If you want to make a contribution, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. But we want it gone from here before we leave, you know.
Rusty already left?
There he went. Right out the place. While you were trying to take that dog.
That's right. It's 3 o'clock. He's got to get up to the Dollar General store.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, you know, yeah, come on. You know, you might want to know why is Rusty on our prayer list. And I talked to Rusty probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, and Rusty wasn't his normal chipper self, and Rusty has a neurological issue, and fortunately for him, he found a doctor at Shands that understands his rare medical condition that he has, and has been able to get Rusty on the right meds and the right program. And I can tell you, he's a different guy now. Like I said, he's got that spark, he's got that go and everything else, and so I'm really pleased. And he was so interested and excited about doing this barbecue, and glad to do it. So it's nice to see stories and hear stories like that, where he's been able to find someone who's been able to give him some relief. Now, Tyra.
Walk it over here. You can't hear. Okay. I'll walk over there.
Can you hold that?
Yes, it's always a pleasure to come to this meeting annually, and we missed last year, but you know, it's neat to be able to reminisce and think about the good old days that we all experienced, most of us, not some of the younger people here today, but most of us experienced some real challenging times and some really good experiences. in these orange groves and in these processing plants and packing houses and so forth. The young lady that indicated that there was possibly 50 packing houses in the state, well, I almost challenged that. I think there were probably close to 50 in Lake County. It's kind of interesting to hear our stories, and many of them are very similar. And I don't know whether, I was not brought here to promote Jerry Brown, but Jerry Brown came to Eustis from Winter Garden and bought an existing plant that was a single strength plant, and it had been closed down for about 4 or 5 years. He bought that plant in 1954 and turned it into a concentrate plant just in time for the 57 freeze. The reason I'm telling you about Jerry Brown is that he too experienced some of the times that we went through. All my years of what education I have and what experiences I've had were geared around freeze years. I was in high school in '57, I was in college in '62, and I was part owner of some grows in '83. So I can tell you, I rank everything in terms of years in the citrus business or observing the citrus business. But Jerry Brown Jr. has sold the concentrate plant in Eustis, and the thing that's the neat story is that he and his brother and his father took an old existing plant with an evaporator that they bought in 1954 that was a low temp, slow, antiquated type of evaporator, but they processed citrus juices there, concentrate. And when times got tough and things began to change and freezes became more and more prevalent, the Brown family decided they could process carrots. And they took that old evaporator, which was ideal because of the fact that it wouldn't move the product too fast and it wouldn't scorch any of the finished product. And they built a real empire around carrot sales, carrot juice sales. And then Dudum had to go out of the carrot business, and therefore they had to figure out what else they could process. And they processed things like cabbage, watermelons, aloe,
Onions.
What?
Onions.
Onions. By the way, that story about onions, there were some car tags that were circulated in Eustis that says, you know what smells in Eustis? Florida food products. But I'll get to the real bottom of the story that I wanted to tell today, and I was not commissioned by him to come talk about this. But he and his brother sold the plant, as I indicated, and then they had a book prepared and written by them for their family history. And if you haven't read this book, if you can locate it, you can buy it from Amazon. And the name of it caught my attention immediately, was School, S-C-H-O-O-L, of Squeeze, S-Q-U-E-E-Z-E. Well, that was kind of a challenge to look at that and think, well, wonder what they're going to tell in that book. Well, the bottom line is that right underneath the School of Squeeze is a caption that says, Dying to Thriving in Agribusiness. Now, many of you all have done this very same thing. We've all experienced some times when things were just about dead, and then somebody comes back with an opportunity to develop into another line of business that's fantastic, that we all hope will continue. This is an example, this facility here, and Benny McLean, some of his programs and so forth. Many of us have had to just accept new opportunities. But this book is available, and I'm telling you, it's worth reading, because I think you can almost see yourself looking in a mirror. He tells in here about how they almost went down several times, and then all of a sudden a new opportunity had come along, or a new product line. So I'm not getting a commission for making a push to get you to buy this book, but I'm telling you, it's worth your read. Have any of you read this? Well, tell us what you think about it.
Well, it's a fabulous family history because Mr. Brown, it starts back when he was in the Marines and some experiences that he has there. You know, all families have these kind of life stories, and the Browns were fortunate enough they hired Dan Tracy, who was a reporter with the Orlando Sentinel for years and years, to do the research and do and write the book. And you know, some of us are more interested and concerned about ancestry than others might be. And this one documents a family story, and it's real life. It's what happened. So I got a copy from Dan, and if you'd like your family history told, Mr. Tracy would be glad to write it. I have to tell you a story about my family history, and sometimes you might want to be careful about what you ask for. I've got a cousin who is a psychologist that lives in Austin, Texas, and she's the historian of the family. And for years, she would travel all over the southeast into cemeteries and going through courthouse records, and I guess this was before Ancestry and all these websites, and she was collecting family history and gathering it and putting it together. And she got a hold of me and said that one of her fellow searchers of history suggested that she get a DNA test run on the Jackson family, and that would give her access to a whole lot more information. And I happen to be the only living male in my generation left, and so for some reason there's more DNA information in the male chromosome than the female, so I volunteered to provide the swab for the DNA test to be run. And they ran the DNA test, and a couple of months after that, Glenn, I kept getting emails from people asking me all kind of questions, and I had no earthly idea what it was all about, so I kept forwarding to my cousin in Texas. And finally, she picked up the phone and gave me a call, and she says, Johnny, she said, have you noticed a lot of these emails are coming from the Prim family? I said, Carol, I haven't been looking at the email, so what difference does that make? She said, well, in doing my research, if I'm not mistaken, guess who lived next door to great-great-aunt Sarah in Natchez, Mississippi? I said, don't tell me. She said, yeah, it's the Prim family. So it seems that Mr. Prim was a coach driver and a man of close to great-great-grandma Sarah's age. So when you do an DNA test, folks, you might find out more than you really wanted to know about the family tree. That's your story? All right, gentlemen. It seems like that these events don't come often enough, and then it's unfortunate it's time for us to pack up and head home. If you are not getting my newsletter, we'll take your email address back there. Some of you, like Bill Lennon, never have time to read emails, because if you did, that's all you'd spend your time doing. You're overrun with them. Others of you don't have enough grandkids around to help you get to those, but those of you that do read the emails, I enjoy writing the letters and sending it out, and I appreciate the feedback that you might give. If you're interested in helping me out with the crate label projects, I'm looking for pictures and stories. We'll take a little bit of cash if you want to make a donation in that direction. And we'll keep talking, we'll keep communicating, and we will see you hopefully back here next year as we, all us old mature mentors, gather. So be careful going home. Thank you very much for your attendance, and I appreciate all the positive comments. And the last thing, I make sure November the 5th is on your schedule. We're all in this together. I expect you to be at Lakeland at Florida Southern College, November 5th? November the 5th.
Class dismissed.